I stepped into the dining room and forced a smile. Merry Christmas. No one answered right away. Forks paused. Glasses clinked. My father cleared his throat. Sit down, he said. I took the empty chair. Smells good, Mom? She nodded without looking at me. The turkey is getting cold. Daniel leaned back and smirked. Still dramatic, huh? I ignored him. How have you been, Lena? She shrugged. Busy. Uncle Mark laughed softly. Well, this should be interesting. Rachel squeezed my knee under the table. Just relax, she whispered. I whispered back, I am relaxed. My father folded his hands. So, he said, everyone is here. We should talk. Daniel chuckled. Here it comes. I felt my chest tighten. Talk about what? My father looked straight at me. About your choices. I swallowed. It's Christmas. That doesn't erase mistakes, he said. I said, quitting the business wasn't a mistake. Daniel snorted. Yeah, walking away from money and family is genius. I looked at him. You never worked a day without Dad fixing things. He slammed his fork down. At least I stayed loyal. My mother finally spoke. Please don't fight. Rachel nodded. Let's just be honest. I turned to her. Honest about what? She took a breath. About how your decision hurt everyone. I stared at her. You knew why I left. She said, I knew you were scared. I shook my head. I was suffocating. My father said, you were selfish. The word hit hard. Selfish for wanting my own life? Yes, he said. You embarrassed this family. Daniel laughed. Clients ask where the screw-up son went. I clenched my fist. Stop. Uncle Mark raised his glass. Truth hurts. I looked at my mother. Do you really think this? Her eyes filled. I just want peace. I said quietly, peace at my expense. Rachel pulled her hand away. You should apologize. I blinked. For what? For walking out, she said. For making things difficult. I said, I left because I was drowning. My father said, you left because you are weak. I felt my face burn. I built half those deals. Daniel sneered. Under Dad's name. I said, because you never let me have my own. My father said, earn it. I asked, by killing myself there forever? Uncle Mark said, men do what they must. I said, I did. I stood halfway up. You want me to beg? My father said, you want forgiveness, don't you? I said, I want respect. Daniel leaned forward. You lost that when you quit. I laughed once, sharp and bitter. So this is a trial. My father said, it's a choice. I asked, what choice? He said, come back, admit you failed, or leave. The room went silent. Lena whispered, just say sorry. I looked at her. Would that change anything? She looked away. I turned to Rachel. Are you with me? She hesitated. I'm with what makes sense. That broke something inside me. I sat back down slowly. I won't lie about who I am. My father's voice hardened. Then you are not my son. My ears rang. Say that again. He said, if you walk out, don't come back. My mother sobbed softly. Daniel smiled. I pushed my chair back. My hand shook. Merry Christmas. No one stopped me. I walked past the tree, past the lights, and out the door, knowing I had just lost my family, my future, and my name. As I reached the hallway, my father called, think carefully. I turned back. I have. He said, pride will ruin you. I said, it already saved me. Rachel whispered my name, but I did not answer. My mother cried, please? I said, I begged for years. Daniel laughed again, but his voice sounded thin. Uncle Mark muttered, he will be back. I shook my head. No. The door felt heavy in my hand. I paused, breathing once, feeling every stare burn into my back, and then I stepped outside, letting the cold air seal the choice forever. I did not look back because I knew if I did, I might break and lose the strength I had left tonight. The snow muffled everything behind me. At last, the door closed behind me and I laughed out loud. That's it, I said to no one. That's how it ends. My breath fogged the air. Merry Christmas to me. I pulled out my phone. Mom, I muttered, calling. No answer. Dad, I tried next. Straight to voicemail. I stopped walking. Of course. I called Rachel. It rang once, then stopped. I said, coward. I kept walking, my shoes crunching on the snow. You didn't even fight, I told myself. You just left. I shoved my hands into my pockets. What did you expect? My phone buzzed. I stopped fast. Finally, Rachel's text read, "You embarrassed me tonight. I can't believe you did that." I stared at the screen. "Did that?" I whispered. I breathed. I typed back, "They disowned me." 3 dots appeared, then vanished. Nothing came after. I laughed again, louder this time. "So that's it." I walked for blocks, my legs moving on their own. "You're free," I told myself. "Congratulations." The word felt fake. I sat on a bench and rubbed my face. What now? No one answered. I scrolled through my contacts and stopped on one name. "Sam," I said. "Please pick up." He answered on the second ring. "Hey man, what's wrong?" I swallowed. "Can I crash at your place?" He paused. "Are you okay?" I said, "No." He said, "Then get over here." When he opened the door, he took one look at me and stepped aside. "Couch is yours." I dropped my jacket. "Thanks." He handed me a beer. "Talk." I sat down hard. "They threw me out." He frowned. "Your family?" "All of them," I said. "Even Rachel." He sat across from me. "What happened?" "They wanted me to beg," I said. "I didn't." Sam nodded slowly. "Good." I laughed bitterly. "Doesn't feel good." He said, "It will." I stared at the wall. "I gave them everything." He said, "You gave them control." I shook my head. "I left the business because I was dying there." He said, "You told me that months ago." "I thought they'd understand," I said. Sam snorted. "Families hate mirrors." I rubbed my eyes. Rachel said I embarrassed her. Sam's jaw tightened. "Then she picked the wrong side." I whispered, "I loved her." He said, "You loved who you thought she was." Silence filled the room. I said, "I'm scared." He said, "Good. That means you care." I leaned back. "What if they're right?" He shook his head. "About what?" "About me failing," I said. He leaned forward. "You already survived the worst night of your life." I exhaled slowly. He said, "You didn't crawl." I looked at him. "I wanted to." He smiled. "But you didn't." I stared at the ceiling. "I don't know who I am without them." Sam said, "Now you get to find out." I closed my eyes. "I won't go back." He said, "Say it again." "I won't go back," I said. He raised his beer. "To failing forward." I clinked mine. "To failing as my own man." The couch felt uncomfortable, but for the first time that night, my chest felt lighter. I stared into the dark, replaying every word from the table, every silence, every betrayal, and I let them burn away. I didn't have a plan, money, or a family anymore, but I had one thing left. I had my pride, and for tonight, that was enough to keep me standing. I sat across from Mr. Harris and wrapped my hands around the coffee cup. "I didn't think you'd actually meet me." He smiled. "You helped me when you didn't have to. That matters." I nodded. "I wasn't looking for anything back then." "I know," he said. "That's why I called you." I took a breath. "I don't belong where I came from." He leaned back. "Family trouble?" "Always," I said. "They wanted me small." He raised an eyebrow. "And you?" "I want to build something," I said. "Something that's mine." He tapped the table. "Say that again." "I want my own future," I said. He studied me. "You quit a safe job." "I quit a cage," I replied. He nodded slowly. "Risk scares most people." "It scares me too," I said. He smiled. "Good." I frowned. "Good?" "Yes," he said. "Fear keeps you sharp." I stared at him. "Why are you really here?" He said, "Because I see hunger." I laughed. "I'm broke." He waved it off. "Money is replaceable." I said, "Confidence isn't." He leaned forward. "I can fund you." My chest tightened. "Why?" "Because I want to," he said. "And because you won't waste it." I heard my father's voice in my head. "You can't do this alone." I shook my head. "I don't know." Mr. Harris said, "You know exactly." I looked at the table. "What if I fail?" He smiled. "Then you learn." I whispered, "They'll be right." He said, "Who?" "My family," I said. "They think I'll crawl back." He said firmly, "You won't." I met his eyes. "How are you so sure?" "Because you're still here," he said. Silence stretched between us. I asked, "What do you want in return?" "Effort," he said. "No excuses." I nodded slowly. "That I can do." He stood. "Think about it." That night, I sat on Sam's couch and opened my bank app. "Wow," I muttered. "That's depressing." Sam looked over. How bad? I turned the screen. That bad. He whistled. So I'm scared, I said. He shrugged. You were scared before. I said, this feels different. Because it's real, he replied. I leaned back. My dad always said I'd fail. Sam said, your dad isn't here. I stared at the ceiling. No one is. My phone buzzed. Mr. Harris's message read, decide. I typed nothing. I closed my eyes. I have nothing left. Sam said, that's freedom. I sat up. If I do this, there's no going back. He smiled. You already didn't go back. I picked up my phone. My hand shook. I'm doing this for me. Sam nodded. Exactly. I typed slowly. I'm in. The reply came fast. Good. Work starts tomorrow. I laughed softly. That's it. Sam raised his bottle. To new beginnings. I clinked it. To choosing myself. That night, I didn't wait for apologies. I didn't replay the dinner table. I didn't imagine going home. I stared into the dark and felt something unfamiliar settle in my chest. It wasn't relief. It wasn't joy. It was certainty. I had chosen my path, and even if it broke me, it would be mine. Sam dropped a stack of papers on the table. You're not sleeping. I said, neither are you. He said, I'm not the one proving something. I looked up. I am proving something. To who? He asked. I didn't answer. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it and sighed. Another update. Sam leaned back. Let me guess. Your brother? Daniel signed a deal without reading the fine print, I said. Again. Sam shook his head. He always thought confidence was skill. I said, Dad warned him once. Then ignored it. Sam frowned. That's new. No, I said. That's pride. My phone buzzed again. I stiffened. Mom? Sam watched my face. You gonna answer? I stared at the screen until it stopped ringing. She hung up. He said, that still counts. It shouldn't, I replied. Later that night, Mr. Harris called. Focus, he said. Noise is distraction. I said, it's my family. He replied, then they're the loudest distraction of all. I worked harder after that. Longer hours. Fewer breaks. Sam finally said, you're punishing yourself. I said, I'm surviving. He nodded. Fair. Near midnight, there was a knock at the door. Sam looked at me. You expecting anyone? I stood slowly. No. I opened it and Rachel stood there, arms crossed, eyes tired. She said, we need to talk. I laughed softly. You're late. She stepped inside. You look different. I said, so do you? She glanced around. This is where you live now? For now, I said. She said, I miss how things were. I crossed my arms. You miss comfort. Her eyes flashed. That's not fair. I said, then explain why you're here. She hesitated. Things are falling apart. I nodded. I heard. She said, your brother is reckless. I warned him, I replied. She said, your dad won't listen. He never did, I said. She stepped closer. They need you. I shook my head. You need stability. She whispered, we were a team. I said, only when I obeyed. She bit her lip. I didn't know you'd really leave. I said, that's the problem. Her voice cracked. I was scared. So was I said. I left anyway. She reached for my hand. We can fix this. I pulled back. No, you want me to fix it. She frowned. What's the difference? Everything, I said. Silence filled the room. She said, you're being cold. I smiled sadly. I learned from the best. She shook her head. You're throwing everything away. I said, I already lost it. She whispered, I loved you. I looked at her. You loved what I provided. She flinched. I said, this ends here. She straightened. You'll regret this. I nodded. Maybe. She walked to the door and stopped. They're struggling. I said, so did I. She left without another word. Sam exhaled. That was rough. I sat down. It was necessary. He asked, you okay? I thought for a moment. I feel lighter. He smiled. Good. I stared at my phone, waiting for guilt to crush me. It didn't. Instead, I felt space open inside my chest. I wasn't needed. I wasn't depended on. I wasn't trapped. For the first time, my worth didn't come from saving people who never saved me. That realization scared me more than being alone, but it also kept me moving forward, one honest choice at a time. I stared at the contract and laughed under my breath. This is real. Sam leaned over my shoulder. Sign it before they change their mind. My hand shook. I've signed papers before. Not like this, he said. That's your name. I picked up the pen. No family logo. No approval. Maya smiled from across the table. Just you. I signed. The ink dried fast. I exhaled. I did it. Sam slapped my back. You really did. Maya raised her coffee. First deal. I clinked cups. First of many. We didn't celebrate loud. No champagne. No speeches. Sam said, funny how quiet success is. I nodded. Peaceful. My phone buzzed. Sam groaned. Don't tell me. I looked. Lena. Maya watched my face. You don't have to answer. I answered anyway. Hello. Her voice rushed out. They're drowning. I closed my eyes. Lena. She said, Dad won't admit it. I said, that hasn't changed. She whispered, we need you. I looked at the contract again. I needed you too. She cried. Please come home. I said gently, I can't. She hung up. Sam said, you okay? I nodded slowly. Better than before. Another call came in. Mark, I muttered. Sam raised an eyebrow. That's new. I answered. What do you want? Uncle Mark cleared his throat. Business is rough. I said, I heard. He said, investors are nervous. I warned you, I replied. He laughed weakly. We could use advice. I said, advice or money? He paused. Both. I said, I'm busy. He sighed. You've changed. I said, you noticed. He hung up. Maya spoke softly. They're circling. They're desperate, I said. Sam leaned back. And you're calm. I smiled. I learned how. My phone buzzed again. I froze. Sam said, that's him, isn't it? I nodded. I answered, yes. My father's voice sounded smaller. I need help. The words landed heavy. I said nothing. He cleared his throat. Things are complicated. I said, they always were. He said, we made mistakes. I waited. He didn't say sorry. He said, can you help the company? I felt the old ache rise. Why? He said, because you're capable. I laughed quietly. You taught me that? Silence stretched. He said, we're family. I said, you ended that. He whispered, I didn't think you'd succeed. I looked at my signature on the contract. Neither did I. He asked, so? I took a breath. I'll think about it. He sounded relieved. Thank you. I ended the call. Sam watched me closely. You didn't promise. No, I said. I didn't rush. Maya nodded. That's power. I leaned back in my chair. It feels strange. Sam said, get used to it. That night I walked alone and replayed every call. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel cruel. I felt steady. Success didn't shout. It whispered that I had choices now. For the first time, I wasn't running to fix damage I didn't cause. I wasn't begging for a seat at a table that rejected me. I had my own table, my own name, and my own future. And somewhere behind me, the people who doubted me finally felt how it was to need what they once threw away. I sat at the same table and folded my hands. Let's talk. My father cleared his throat. We're glad you came. Daniel spoke fast. Things went wrong fast. Uncle Mark said, the market shifted. I nodded. Of course it did. My mother whispered, we never meant for this. I said, you meant every word that night. Daniel snapped, that was months ago. I looked at him. It changed my life. My father leaned forward. We made mistakes. I waited. He frowned. You don't want to respond? I said, I'm listening. Uncle Mark waved his hand. Bad luck happens. I asked, so does blame. My mother wiped her eyes. Please don't do this. Do what? I asked. Tell the truth. Daniel muttered, you always loved control. I smiled slightly. You confused control with boundaries. My father sighed. We need help. I nodded. I know. He said, the company is bleeding. I asked calmly, why should I help people who threw me away? No one spoke. The silence stretched. My mother began to cry. We're still your family. I said gently, family doesn't erase people. Daniel stared at the table. I messed up. I looked at him. You never listened. He said quietly, "I was jealous." That surprised me. My father rubbed his temples. "This isn't easy." I said, "It wasn't easy for me either." He said, "We're asking for money." I nodded. "And I'm saying no." My mother gasped. "Then why are you here?" I said, "To offer terms." Daniel looked up. "Terms?" I pulled out a folder. Limited funding. Strict oversight. No control. My father frowned. "You don't trust us." I said, "You taught me not to." Uncle Mark scoffed. "You think you're better now?" I met his eyes. "I think I'm careful." My mother whispered, "This feels like punishment." I said, "It's protection." My father looked at the papers. "You'd really walk away?" I said, "I already did once." Daniel said, "Sign it, Dad." My father hesitated. "We don't have a choice." I nodded. "Exactly." He picked up the pen with shaking hands. My mother sobbed quietly. Daniel signed next. Uncle Mark muttered, "This is humiliating." I stood. So was Christmas. My father looked up. "Is this forgiveness?" I thought for a moment. "It's mercy with memory." He swallowed. "Will you come back?" I shook my head. "Not to who we were." My mother reached for me. "I'm sorry." I paused. "I believe you." I walked toward the door. Daniel said, "You won." I turned. "I didn't want to." My father said softly, "You changed." I answered, "I had to." Outside I breathed deeply. My chest felt light. I didn't feel revenge. I didn't feel victory. I felt finished. I walked away knowing I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their table, their name, or their permission. Forgiveness didn't fix the past, but it freed my future. I didn't destroy them. I didn't save them either. I saved myself, and that was the price I was finally willing to pay. My father called on a Tuesday morning. I was nearby, he said. "Thought I'd check in." I replied, "You never did that before." He cleared his throat. "Things change." I said, "They do." There was a pause. "You look well," he added. "I am," I said. "Busy too." "I won't keep you long," he said. "I just wanted to talk." I leaned back. "About what?" "Us," he said. I waited. He sighed. "I should have listened more." I nodded. "You should have." He sounded stiff. "I'm trying now." I said, "Trying doesn't erase choices." Silence sat heavy. He said, "Your mother asks about you." I replied, "She has my number." He said quietly, "She's ashamed." I said, "So was I." He asked, "Can we start over?" I answered honestly, "No." He inhaled sharply. "That hurts." I said, "It used to hurt me too." He didn't argue. Later that week, Daniel showed up at my office. "You got time?" I said, 5 minutes. He nodded. I was jealous. I looked up. "Say that again." He swallowed. "I hated that Dad trusted you more." I said, "He never did." Daniel shook his head. "You were brave." I wasn't. I studied him. "You broke things because you were afraid." He nodded. "Yeah." I said, "That's yours to live with." He said, "I know." He left without asking for forgiveness. That night, I opened my email and saw Rachel's name. The message was long. Apologies. Explanations. Regret. I read it once. I closed it. I didn't reply. The next morning, Maya noticed. "You seem quiet." I said, "Old ghosts." She smiled gently. "Do you regret anything?" I thought for a moment. "I regret waiting so long." She tilted her head. "Waiting for what?" "For permission," I said. "For love that had rules." She nodded. "That's honest." I said, "Being alone forced me to grow." She said, "Lonely growth is still growth." I smiled. "You always say that." She shrugged. "Because it's true." Later, Sam texted me. "Your dad looks tired." I replied, "I know." He wrote back, "You okay?" I typed, "I'm distant." Not angry. He sent a thumbs up. That night, I stood by the window and thought about regret. It didn't come loud. It came in quiet calls, unfinished sentences, and emails never answered. Regret didn't fix what was broken. It only showed where the cracks began. I understood that now. Some bridges collapse because they were never meant to hold weight forever. I didn't need closure wrapped in apologies. Distance was enough. I had learned who I was when no one clapped for me, when no one claimed me, when I had to stand alone. That version of me wasn't weak. He was forged. And I wasn't willing to lose him just to make others feel better about what they lost. I leaned back in my chair and let the sunlight hit my face. Look at this, huh? I whispered to myself. Sam peered over the cubicle wall. Finally smiling for real? I smirked. Maybe. He laughed. About time. I turned to the window thinking about that night. Hey, I said softly, you made it. The boy who froze outside the Christmas lights, the boy who felt like nothing, he's still here. You survived, I told him. You didn't beg. You didn't break. My phone buzzed. I looked down. A message from my intern Jake. Can we review the proposal together? I smiled. Come in. He walked in nervously. Sir. I mean, can you guide me? I shook my head. Call me Alex. And yes, let's go through it. We spent an hour over spreadsheets and notes. He asked questions I answered and I realized something. I was mentoring him the way I once needed someone to guide me. You'll learn fast, I said. Mistakes teach more than lectures. He nodded eagerly. Thanks. I hope I don't mess it up. You won't, I said. If you do, fix it. That's the rule. Sam popped his head in again. You're glowing. I laughed. I think I like it here. Maya appeared from the doorway, arms folded, smiling. Not glowing, Alex. Confident. I said, there's a difference. She leaned on the desk. You don't need approval anymore. I nodded. I stopped chasing it. She asked softly, and you're okay with that? I smiled. More than okay. I'm free. Sam whistled. Look at you, the king of calm. I said, not calm. Prepared. Maya said, prepared to choose, to walk away, to build. I looked at the sunlight again. I don't let my past control me. Sam raised an eyebrow. You mean that awful Christmas table? I laughed quietly. Exactly that. That boy outside, he taught me everything. Maya nodded. You became the man you were afraid to be. I leaned back in my chair watching Jake practice his notes. I mentor, I build, I lead. And I do it my way. Sam grinned. And you're smiling because it's real this time. I said, it is real. I thought about my father, my brother, my mother, and even Rachel. They needed me to stay small. I chose differently. Maya said, and you'll keep choosing differently. I looked at her. Yes. Not because you or anyone else tells me to, but because I can. Sam nudged me. I think this is the happiest I've ever seen you. I said quietly, I'm the man I should have been all along. Maya placed a hand on my shoulder. And now you're not afraid. I watched the sunlight move across the office floor. No, I said. Not afraid. Not of failure, not of distance, not of being alone. That boy outside, he survived. So did I. And I'll keep surviving my way. Jake looked up. Everything okay? I smiled at him. Better than okay. Let's get back to work. Sam whispered, and that's how legends are made. I laughed. Not legends. Just a man finally owning his life. The office was quiet again. Sunlight on the window. I breathed in deep, feeling the weight lift. My past was behind me. I was here. I was me. And for the first time in years, that was enough. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I glanced down. A message from Dad. I should have believed in you. I stared at it. Long seconds passed. I didn't type a reply. I didn't even move. I let the words sit there. I whispered to myself, so that's it? The room was quiet. Just the hum of the refrigerator and my own breathing. I thought about the Christmas when they disowned me, the cold air on my face, the ache in my chest. I exhaled slowly and closed the phone. Closure, I said softly. It doesn't always need an apology. Sam peeked around the corner. Everything okay? I smiled faintly. Better than okay. Peaceful. He raised an eyebrow. Peaceful? You. I laughed quietly. Yeah, it took me a long time to get here. Maya walked in holding 2 mugs of cocoa. Looks like someone's thinking. I accepted the mug. Thinking about them. She asked gently, do you miss them? I shook my head. Not really. I miss the idea of them, maybe. But not the people who tried to define me. She nodded. And that's okay. I said, I've learned that freedom isn't loud. It's quiet. And it's mine. Sam set his hands on the counter. Sounds like a good kind of Christmas coming. I smiled. Exactly. I spent the next few hours decorating my apartment. Tiny lights along the window, a small tree in the corner, ornaments carefully placed. Each one felt like a declaration. I choose this life. I choose who surrounds me. I choose peace. Maya hung a star at the top. Perfect, she said. I stepped back and admired it. Perfect isn't about them. Perfect is about what I build. Sam chuckled. I'll drink to that. We sipped cocoa, watching the soft glow of the lights. I didn't need applause. I didn't need approval. I didn't need them to understand. I whispered to myself, the best karma wasn't their regret. Maya asked, what was it? I looked at her, smiling. My growth. Finally becoming who I was meant to be. Sam nodded. Not everyone gets that. I said, I did. And I'm not going back. The city lights glimmered outside the window. Snow dusted the street below. I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Calm, quiet, free. I reached up and switched off the Christmas lights. Darkness filled the room for a heartbeat, then I let it settle. I whispered, I lost them, but I found me. Maya smiled. That's all that matters. I turned to Sam. It really is. He raised his mug. To you then. I clinked mine. To me. Alone or with friends who chose me, I realized I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need the past to define my future. I leaned back on the couch and closed my eyes, letting the quiet sink in. The ache from years ago was gone, replaced by something steady. Peace, freedom, me. And for the first time it felt like home.